icy, stupid cold. In October, November, December, and part of January, the coldest water in the United States, including Kodiak, Alaska. Let's leave northern Alaska out and the Great Lakes out. Where's the coldest water in the U.S.?
West Coast?
East Coast.
Maine.
Anywhere north of Cape.
Peak State Park, the southern tip of the Chesapeake Bay, is the coldest water in the U.S.
Wow.
Tied with Woods Hole, Mass. They trade back and forth a degree at a time.
Why?
It's not Kodiak. It's this massive, huge watershed that's from all up north. And there's no circulatory, and where the Chesapeake Bay inlet is, it's set in from the Gulf Stream, and it just doesn't move much. But my point is, you don't have to go far. The coldest water in the U.S. essentially is here. It's right out here in October, November. You're not in the South. The Virginians get very mad when I tell them they're not in the South, but they're not in the South. They're not. It's cold here, right? But this water's just as freezing as it's going to be anywhere else. Off the coast of Maine, not colder than right here. Not colder. And so when the water turns cold, and I got some sweet, I got asked, they ask you in the summer to do this. Mario, would you jump in the water and swim until muscle failure? Yeah, it's August. I'm like, sure, sounds like fun. And that was dumb enough, but then I did it again last year. But if you YouTube cold water boot camp, there's a 10-minute video that's all you need.
We pass that around, actually.
Right. This one is after when we were filming cold water boot camp. I had done 29. I'm a better swimmer than you guys are, I promise. I'm more used to cold than you are, I promise. In 44-degree water, I made it 29 minutes and then I drowned. My muscles locked up and I was done. The guy grabbed me. Now, recovering in the ambulance, and the first 10 minutes out of the water is worse than any 10 minutes in. I'm in the back of the ambulance, and they're they're the Keystone Cops. They're tearing everything off, and they're trying to start an IV. And I'm, and the shivering is violent. The muscles of everything shakes. Everything shakes. And if you weren't strapped down, you'd shake yourself right out of bed. And it's miserable, and the skin's just bright red. And the doc walks in, and they're trying to start an IV. He's like, whoa, 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 what are you doing? I go, well, we're starting an IV. I go, why? Whoa, look at him. And he says, Mario, I'm sorry. He takes the blanket off. It was really true. I hated him. He said, look at him. He looks horrible, but everything's fine. If he's shivering, everything's fine. He's in pain. He hates me right now, but everything's fine. And everything actually was fine. My pulse, the level of oxygen in my blood was fine. So, I wasn't dehydrated. Everything was fine. I didn't need it. And where are you going to put the IV? I mean, my arms are doing this, And so I said, well, this is what you should make the next video about this. And he went, okay. And then he asked me in the summer again, come back next year and do it again. This time,
To shiver.
Well, you stay in the water until you actually become hypothermic. Because what we found out is, if let's say it's January and you're in your boat and you fall and you didn't follow the rules and you didn't have a dry suit on and you fell in. You fell off the dock and you fall in the water. How long does it take you to become hypothermic in 35-degree water? 5 minutes. 5 minutes? 3 minutes?
Half hour.
Half an hour.
Half an hour? About an hour. I'm going to go with about an hour. To become hypothermic. Now, here's the thing. You have to have a life jacket on to become hypothermic. It's impossible in water over your head to become hypothermic without a life jacket on. Because you can't stay above the surface long enough to get there. Because we're going to get in the cold water real quick. 4 stages of cold water immersion. Ready? First one is immersion shock. This kills 20% of the people that get in the water. That get in cold water is immersion shock. You get in the water, there's an inspiratory gas where the cold shower thing, kind of multiply that times 1,000, and you do that gas. If that gas happens underwater, that's bad. Because you're going to take in water, that's going to be bad. And so many people, particularly children, hit the water and that's it. You don't see them again. They don't come up. So you got to control that first breath. You really got to control your breathing there. And all you do for that 60 seconds to 2 minutes is simply control your breathing. So we're going to say 1. So for a minute, you're going to control your breathing. The next stage of cold water immersion is called swimming failure. We haven't got hypothermic yet. You're shivering. I spent an hour in 44-degree water. After 20 minutes, I had a fever. My internal core temperature was 101 because the shivering's effective. So I'm not hypothermic yet. But I couldn't move my fingers anymore. and after about half an hour, I couldn't move my arms anymore. So you have about 10 minutes of meaningful movement. So if you fall out of your kayak and you're cold, and you're trying to get back in it, you're trying to do a self-rescue, if you haven't got back in 10 minutes, you're not going to get back in it. You're getting weaker and weaker and weaker, and you're getting colder and colder and colder. So you got 1 minute to get your breathing under control, 10 minutes of meaningful movement to get back in the boat. If you haven't got back in 10, you're not going to get back in. The next thing that's going to happen is if you have your flotation on, you have a long time until you become unconscious from hypothermia. Typically about an hour. And so this is why if you do fall in and you're trying to self-rescue, if you have passive signals like rescue streamers or strobe lights, that's the time while your fingers still work to get that stuff done. And then just stay there with your boat. Or stay with your flotation. I've seen your cold water pamphlet, and most of it's right, and some of it's not. But some of it that's right is, wait a minute. Okay, most of it's wrong. But the help position, right? As they get into the help, the heat escape lessening posture. That's not what that stands for. That's what they tell you it stands for. It actually means you can't help but get in that position. It is self-critiquing. There is no other way in water that's cold to do anything else but this. If you try and put your arms out, you're you're going to come right back in. That is a natural position your body wants to be in. It's not some technique. I'm telling you, if you have flotation on, that is where you're going to be. Your legs are going to draw up, your arms are going to draw in, and you're going to do this. Well, what there's three of us, Maury, we should get in the huddle position, right? Yeah? Try it. The huddle position was invented by the Navy for downed aviators who they had this thing called the SV2. It was a bladder that went under their arms here. And so their armpits were insulated with like 8 inches of inflated material. And so they would huddle together, and there would be this little pocket of warm in there. You bring your arms out and let that cool water hit your armpits, you're going to immediately go, you know, I don't like you guys so much, and you're going to go right back. I'm telling you, try it, you won't do it. You will not huddle for long. So I took the huddle out of the rescue swimmer manual for that reason, and I snuck it past them, but it came out. But it kind of doesn't matter. It's a self-critiquing skill. Because they're going to do it, you're not going to want to do it anyway. You're going to come right back to here, to the help position. But you should tie yourselves together, right? You still have your hands, you should tie yourself together and make yourself a bigger target. Tie yourself to your, well, I don't trust my boat to float for that long. I don't know, it's still a boat and it's heavier than the water. And air pockets to one side, whatever.
Let me ask you a quick question.
Yeah.
You're advocating in that 10-minute period to get rescue streamers out and stuff like that instead of getting back in your boat?
No, not so much. No. If you can get back in the boat, get back out of the water is better than in the water. I wouldn't wait. Well, Mario said that. Hold on. If you can get back in your boat, if you're in your 8th minute and you're not in the boat,
okay,
and you're giving up on the getting back in the boat, whatever you got left, get your passive signals out.
Okay. That's without a dry suit.
That's without a dry suit. And you guys are in dry suits, but dry suits. It's a dry suit, not a warm suit, right? If you haven't put on your dry suit with, because it's like the water's 64, so they're gonna make you wear it. You don't really want to, but it's still like 74 out. You don't want to burn up, and so you got like the really thinnest layer of stuff on, right? Or the water's 57, but it's hot out today, and I'm gonna be paddling. It's gonna be hot. I'm gonna put like the really thin layer on. Yeah, get in the water for 30 minutes with the really thin layer on in your dry suit. And if you still want to be there, by all means. And there's a balancing act with a dry suit when the weather's warm and the water's cold. There's a real balancing act because, hey, if I fall in the water, I'll survive. I'm going to get heat stroke out of the water, right? And there's a real problem there. But they're dry suits, not warm suits. A half liter of water in the dry suit decreases its ability to insulate by 30%. You get 3 liters in, now it's just a clammy suit. Now the water doesn't move, it's still better than not, because the water doesn't circulate, and you'll still stay warmer, but you really have to maintain those things well.
Is there anything that can vasodilate your vessels pharmacologically during that time? Like, you have those, like nitric oxide type of what? Well, I don't know. I don't know, because you said the core temperature increases to 100 degrees. Maybe that's enough to give you 2 minutes.
Yeah. Well, you're saying he wants to know just a way to open your
vessels.
To vasodilate. Yeah, if you're on Demerol, you can't vasoconstrict. which means you shouldn't kayak if you're on Demerol. I'm not kidding, because you can't vasoconstrict if you're on. You can't shiver on Demerol. You can't shiver.
But is there any research being done to pharmacologically?
To vasodilate, no. And you don't want to vasodilate, because when you vasodilate, this is the fourth stage of cold water immersion, post-rescue collapse.
You get hypotensive.
When they get out of the water and they move too fast, and that cold water in the cold blood in the extremities makes its way back to the core too fast, and you go into VFib. So the Coast Guard's put a stack of guys back in the Camel with a 44-footer, alive, drinking coffee, smoking cigarettes, and got back to the dock, and they're all dead. We don't put them back there anymore. We watch them. Everyone that, if you're out here, I don't care what you're wearing, you're in your dry suit and you're fine, and it's December, and I pick you up and you go, Mario, I'm fine. I'm like, lay down. Yeah, but I feel pretty good. I said, lay down. Yeah, but I'm not even shivering, and you're not standing up either. And then we'll see if, it'll be a fight, but you're going to lay down. No one sits up in my helicopter if they come out of cold water until the doc says they stand up. Because that cold water in your extremities, if the water's 50 degrees and you've been in there for an hour, I don't know how good you feel, the water in your limbs, your blood in your limbs is 50 degrees. It hasn't moved. Lacking insulation, your body's going to make its own by slowly closing off the blood supply and leaving it in the limb. And so you don't rub someone dry, you don't shake them, you don't massage them, you don't have them shake it off. Lay down. And in these DVDs, and I got like 7 of them, you want to copy and burn them. No one's going to care. It was Coast Guard grant money. Copy them all day long. Make 1,000 copies. All right? I don't care what you do. And nobody else does either. And if they do, have them try and catch them. But it's all how to rescue someone that's cold. So if you have to rescue one of your people, how do I handle them till the ambulance gets there? Because it is not as simple as get out and shake it off. All right, it's get out, lay them down. Don't move them.
Do you treat them for shock?
No, well, only if they're in shock. Also in your pamphlet it says that you lose 50% of your body heat through your head. The head's about 8 to 12% of your body. You lose about 8 to 12% of the heat through your head. The reason they say you lose most of your body heat through your head is because that's the one thing. Most of you have everything covered but your head. That's why you lose most of your heat through your head, because you're not wearing clothes there. All right, so no, it doesn't lose any more heat than anywhere else. It's just one of those things that's been in the book and it's stuck there forever. Hoods are great, and I think you should wear one. I think you should have one with you and put a hood on, because it's really uncomfortable, and you can lose heat through there, but you're not going to lose half your body heat through your head. It's just going to be really uncomfortable. But saving someone out of cold water, there's a way to handle it. It's a bigger talk than we have time for, really, but it's all in this DVD, and I think you should watch it. That's the best. This is the best training on cold water recovery and survival that's ever been made, and it's ever going to for a long time. And you can have it, you can make copies, and knock yourself out. That's what I got. I got you found. All right, let's say you have to call the Coast Guard. Let's say you get the Coast Guard, and you get the boats are the boats. The boat shows up. You guys know what to do with the boat. They're not going to blow you over. Let's say you get a helicopter. Say one of my buddies shows up. What do you do? I mean, besides whatever the nice swimmer says, right? I've seen kayakers just bail. I was telling the story earlier today that the solo kayaker leaves Virginia Beach, just going to go out and go down. He wants to go to Rudy Inlet. He's going to go from like 84th. He's going to kayak down to Rudy Inlet. That's his big plan for the day. Great. And he just sort of gets brain dead for a minute. No compass. Nope, and it's just, I'm going to go look at the beach, keep the beach over there, and I'll end up at Rudy, and I'll pull in. Well, he, looking around, chasing birds or whatever, and looks up and he can't see the beach anymore. It's overcast, doesn't know where he's going, takes his best guess at east, or at west, heads east instead, 180 out, and starts paddling straight out to sea. Catches a pretty decent current. We find him on a goof, on a pattern, right? There he is. What's that dot way out there? We go out there to the dot. He's bailing out and swimming towards us. Get him in a helicopter. Dude, where am I? I'm like, you're like 26 miles offshore, bro. You're heading the wrong way. But so what do? You stay with the kayak? If the kayak hovers, if the helicopter hovers over your kayak, an 860 anyway, 70 knots of wind, you'll be out of the kayak soon enough. I think you want to control that a little bit. So point it at us, maybe, and It depends on who's in the helicopter. We don't get trained for we don't train for everything. I mean, we don't train for like every kind of boat. You know, if you happen to, you know, you'd think that they would be, maybe I shouldn't get too close to the kayak. They might not. I can't promise you anything. I'm just saying that point at the helicopter, and when if the swimmer leaves the aircraft, then you know you should leave your boat. He'll come get you.
What's going to dictate if the swimmer leaves the aircraft? Does it always happen when you're going to have to pull somebody out of the drink?
It doesn't always happen, but it mostly always happens. I think there's schools of thought on that. You know, there's a school that says, well, I don't want to put the swimmer, it's a risk to put the swimmer out of the aircraft and I don't want to do it. And as the school chief, my position was, yes, it's a risk, but that's what the kid gets paid for. It's safer for the person in the water to have the swimmer with him. It's not supposed to be safer for me, it's supposed to be safer for you. And most pilots think that way. We'll put the swimmer in the water to make sure, because what will happen is we'll put the basket down because you're a hero, and you'll sit in the thing sideways with your neck hanging out the wrong end. And now we're done. You're sitting in the basket wrong with your arms out this, and I've seen it. They come in sideways, legs hanging out one side, arms out this way, and now I've got a really dangerous hoist that I don't control. Where if I had the swimmer down there, he'd turn you sideways, put your arms and legs in, and smack you in the head and say, go. Okay, so typically the swimmer comes down. All right, because you know the basket is not as intuitive as you would think. Even though there's a picture on it, says sit in it like this. You're not really in a frame of mind to start reading the instructions in your bag. And we forget that. We're like, well, the instructions are right there, but they're a little more scared than we are. And you know, I've never seen someone go, hold on a minute. Got it. You know, it doesn't happen. Anything else? Hey, that's all I got, you know, for now. It's been great. Thanks for having me up. It's been fun.
Thanks, Mario. We have a small token of our appreciation
Sweet. Awesome.
for our high-tech versions of the hat.
Nice. That's on now.
That way you won't lose as much of your body heat.
Yeah, I just saved some body heat. Okay, this is one last thing I want to show you. This is the one thing I always have with me. Always.
What is it?
Always.
Nose plugs?
Fire starter.
Always. It's in my car. When it's not in my car, it's in my pocket.
Fire starter.
I've carried this thing into church. Always. All right, and it was in my boat today, because this is it. What this is a metal match, because it will not run out of. It can get wet. It's always going to do that. It doesn't. I can't run. I can't. You know, it's not like a match where I can run out of them. I got like 20,000 of those strikes, right? And this is a little. This is a match case. The orange ones are better, but this is the green one I have. And these are cotton balls soaked in Vaseline. So the reason I like cotton balls soaked in Vaseline is because 20 years from now, you know what these are going to be? Cotton balls soaked in Vaseline. And if I get them wet, you know what they are? It's a cotton ball soaked in Vaseline. And then I can get my dry twigs if I have something to burn, or if I'm just trying to signal. Not get the park ranger mad.
Yeah, soaked in Vaseline.
Let's see, I haven't done this in like a year.
Whoa.
Look at that. And then you put that's the best fire starter ever, and fire's good when you're by yourself in the woods. It's just really good, and it's a good signal. And I'm about to burn this piece of wood.
How's it work on a
That's
plastic
all right.
kayak?
It works really good on the, you know.
Don't you dare say wood.
Skin on frame.
Or a wood kayak.
Just have to carry a rock in your boat.
Just have to carry a rock in your boat. It's when you beach, because the dumb kayakers that get in trouble are pretty smart. They head for the beach, the nearest beach. Down there off of the mouth of the bay, there's Fisherman's Island where no one's supposed to be. Then there's Hog Island where no one's supposed to be. The kayakers there all the time because they're trying to make that run across. They're gonna follow the tunnel across, and then they get tanked and they can't make it and they end up beaching themselves. But they weren't planning on camping. They were planning on coming back. But you know, they didn't consider the weather or anything. And stop. They didn't consider the weather.
Could he use a light?
Don't tell anyone that's there. And they end up, but they have no problem because they're dressed for the day. It's hot out. They didn't bring clothes for the overnight temps. But I got my match and my cotton balls of Vaseline. I'm gonna be toasted. Okay.
Now we know why you're on so many burning boats, huh?
That's what it is. Yeah, they're not burning till I get there, yeah. All right, thanks. You guys have been great. I'll see you next time. I will take a kayaking class.